Violet Sampa, Mary Mwango, Vera Chiluba, Inonge Mutukwawina. What do all those women have in common? Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. That's for my already existing subscribers, and to the first timers, I'm saying a very big welcome to you. My name is Chiti. I make videos in psychology, mental health, and personal development. Please like and share my videos. Also, do remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. So, today's video, I'm going to be talking about a branch of psychology that isn't talked about a lot. Going to be talking about feminist psychology and feminism in the lens of the Zambian setup. So, what is feminist psychology? Well, according to a source from the web, feminist psychology is defined as a form of psychology centered on social structures and gender equality and equity. This branch of psychology critiques historical psychological research as done from a male perspective with the view that males are the norms. So, to elaborate more on this point, an example of a research that feminist psychology has critiqued is the theory done by Sigmund Freud, which is a theory of psychosexual development. According to that theory, in conclusion, Freud thought that women are much less developed mentally than men because, according to him, women still remain fixated on a certain stage of psychosexual development, which is quite belittling to women. So, feminist psychology is oriented on the values and principles of feminism. The main objective of this field of study is to understand the individual within the larger social and political aspects of society. So, the individual here being the woman. Feminist psychology places a strong emphasis on women's rights. So, that's what we're going to be attaching in this video. In this video, we want to see where are we coming from as women when it comes to issues of gender equity and equality. So, when we look at feminism in Zambia, it is very cardinal to note that the Zambian feminist movement has been shaped by the country's colonial past. So, in the pre colonial era, women had strong economic as well as social bases. Uh, Originally, cultural practices, our culture, discouraged women from being in governance. As a result, women were marginalized, were the most marginalized group, and ended up in abject poverty with little or no education at all. If at all these women managed to get educated, it was not proper education. It wasn't something that would make a difference in their life. On the other hand, the boy child, the male, who was the norm in the Zambian culture, was encouraged to take part in positions of key decision making and encouraged to further his education. So, this just shows you how much of a patriarchal society our Zambia is. Of course, there was uh, a deep ingrain of misogyny in this norm where women were marginalized whilst men went further and further with their education and their lives. So, in as much as women were the marginalized group, there has always been a group of women that questioned the existing patriarchal systems and the misogyny that existed in the Zambian culture. Not only did this group of women question, they took a firm stand to coordinate strategies aimed at changing existing stereotypes and help alleviate the marginalization that the Zambian woman was facing. So, of course, this was done in order to empower themselves economically and socially. So, the feminist movement didn't just begin when NGOs started forming in and started forming and started their activities in Zambia. Feminism or the feminist movement can be traced way back through several decades of struggle for freedom, which saw women take a firm stand in riots against colonial authorities. Women also, in the post colonial era or in post colonial Zambia, women also took a firm stand to fight for their rights to vote. Because, in as much as women helped in the struggle for independence, it after independence, I think it was a shady thing that women were still marginalized. Women weren't allowed to even stand for higher positions in government. And of course, the biggest irony was that late President Dr. Kenneth Kaunda picked a man to be the Ministry of Gender or to be the minister of women's affairs rather, when we had quite capable women that fought for this country as well. So we have women like Julia Mlenga and Mary Mwango. They risked their life by participating in demonstrations. And it's also important to note that these two women fought for the right to vote, fought for women's rights to vote between the periods of 1960s and the 70s. So when Zambia gained its independence in 1964, quite a right, women later on were given the right to vote. As mentioned, women like Mary Mwango and Julia Mlenga saw to it that women were granted their right to vote. But still more, even when women were granted the right to vote, they were still confined and their involvement in political issues remained remained very limited. For example, in as much as women were granted the right to vote, a few actually showed up at polling stations because many men believed that it wasn't in a woman's place to take part in such issues or to even have a chance to make a decision as who should rule this country. And also, remember that women weren't encouraged to further or go further with their education. So it means these women had little knowledge. So all these factors laid them or made it difficult for them to participate. It was a hindrance to them. So down the line, let's talk about women's engagement, civic engagement. So when we talk about women's civic engagement, we're talking about women's participation in civic issues. How many women are vying for positions of key decision making in government? Are how many women are women interested in civic issues like voting? So from the 70s down the line, women have there have been quite an improvement in women in civic engagement, or the civic engagement of women in this country. But I think we still have a long way to go, because there's still a few women in those positions. Because when we look at the Zambian woman, we have the woman in the urban setting, the woman in the rural setting. We have different needs and problems that need to be advocated for. We are a diverse group of people. To only to be represented by 3, 4, or 2 women in parliament, we need to see more women out there vying for these positions. So we in as much as there is so much work to be done, we cannot go by without acknowledging the milestones we have reached as women in civic engagement. In about 2015, 2016, we were introduced to Mama Inonge Wina Mutukwa Wina, who was Zambia's first female vice president, running under the Patriotic Front alongside President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. I think this was such a huge milestone in Zambian political history, in the history of women in civic engagement, because it showed us how much we are capable as women, how many possibilities there are for the Zambian woman out there. So this really changed the feminist landscape in Zambia for good. In other words, it opened up a portal for more female participation, because it was more like a fuel of encouragement, encouraging women to take up space, that it is possible, even though they are female, to be in positions of decision making. It showed us it was possible, and that there were so many possibilities for the Zambian woman. Of course, when we talk about women in civic engagement, we cannot forget the work of the civil society organizations, the work they have done in the fight for women, or the feminist movement in Zambia. Just to add on, I had a personal experience with the non-government organization coordinating council, NGOCC, who advocate for women's political movement or participation. They are into gender equity and equality, and the kind of women I met at their workshop made me question, what am I doing on my part to make Zambia a better place for the generation of women that are coming after me? Because trust me, some of the things we take for granted, things like I'm a woman, I can simply walk into the bank right now and open a bank account without any complications, without them requiring me to produce a letter from a man in my life, like my father, husband, or brother. those are little things we take for granted, but there were women before us that saw to it that the everyday Zambian woman has the right to financial freedom, to own a bank account without a letter of consent from her husband. Those are things we take for granted, but the women before us fought for such things so that life can be easier for you and I today. So, what are we doing for the next generation of Zambian women? What am I doing right now to make this country a better place for the daughter that is coming after me, the little girl that is coming after me? So, we have, secondly, we also have the Zambia National Women's Lobby, which was established in 1991. Their aim is to promote women's political participation in Zambia. And then we also have the UNIP Women's League, which was created in 1964. So the UNIP Women's League helps with women's political partaking and also gender equality, and also they also focus on women's empowerment. So one thing I liked about the UNIP Women's League when I was reading about this organization is that not only do they focus on women's political partaking, gender equality, and women's empowerment, they also incorporate educational programs related to problems that women face. So, for example, they have a program that helps women to be financially independent, because trust me, 3/4 of the problems we face as women, a lack of education, lack of a better livelihood, enduring abusive relationships, is because of money, financial literacy, or being financially independent. If a woman is financially independent, I think it gives her a better life, a better taste of life, and better options in life. It changes her entire trajectory of her life. So back to the question we asked in the beginning: Violet Sampa, Mary Mwango, Vera Chiluva, Inonge Mutukwawina, what do all these women have in common? Personally, I'll answer from my own perspective. These are Wonder Women. These are women that have changed the entire feminist landscape in Zambia. They fought for our freedom as women. Most of the aspirations we have today as women, most of the rights, the better life we have as women today, these women paved the way. They made sure, they made it possible for us so that our paths may be easier. What are you doing for the next generation of women?